All right, everyone. Donald Trump is still trolling at this time and, presumably will keep doing so for years to come. It's funny how effortless it is because people are right now they're confused at why he's got an office of the former president in order to promote his agenda. And this is like Trump still has a small attaché of loyal former staffers, and of course he still has a huge amount of clout within the Republican Party. You see people like Rand Paul are still very much on the MAGA side as opposed to siding with the neocons. And even Mitch McConnell solidifying in favor of throwing out the sham Senate hearings run by Pat Leahy, who, by the way, was hospitalized, I guess, the other day. Maybe he has the coup for something, and he's 80 years old, so that could actually be meaningful in that sense. It'd be like there's the legend of the Trump curse where people who fuck him over keep getting sick and stuff like that. Well, at some point it is a little bit odd. Anyway, I'll tell you exactly why he's doing this, and that's to troll Beijing Biden. But you remember the office of the president-elect? For, several weeks after the election but before inauguration, Joe Biden had the fake presidential seal behind him. The office of the vice president-elect was made and stuff. There's no actual office of that name. It doesn't exist. The president-elect is a term that only becomes meaningful anyway once the electors vote. Well, he had set that up a month before. What Donald Trump is doing is hoping that people will remember that fact when they talk about the office of the former president, which equally has absolutely no legal sway. But it is comprised of people who are politically and connected enough that with Trump's kind of money and with his kind of in-crowd, yeah, it can have an impact on U.S. politics. I'm hoping that he sets up alt-tech and begins using that in order to put out pressers and shit to basically be a form of low-key shadow president. That should be limited to specifically pointing out what Beijing Biden is doing wrong and then contrasting that with what Trump accomplished. This would set him up for potentially, some people are saying that it'd be funny if he ran for the House and tried to become House Speaker in order to impeach, in order to oversee impeachment proceedings against Beijing Biden and Kamala Harris. That would be funny. Some people think he'll run in 2024. I think that's iffy at this point. Regardless, though, he's going to be a thorn in Biden's side for years to come, or Kamala Harris's side. That's because Beijing Biden is doing basically the opposite of what Trump did. Trump was very pro-energy. Beijing Biden, one of his first executive orders, is going to destroy tens of thousands of jobs, especially in the South, related to oil and gas extraction. Keystone XL is no longer a thing. He's pissed off the Canadians. Now, he's got multiple governments around the world that do not even formally recognize him, by the way, including, I believe, still the Brazilians to this day, among others. Boris Johnson finally buckled down. Beijing Biden, he still hasn't said what states he intends to visit first, by the way. I guarantee the UK, it's perennially one of the first, won't be on the top part of the list. He'll probably visit Beijing first in recognition of who his masters are. He'll probably go over there to Shanghai and Shanghai some little kids like we all know that he's into because he's a pederast. But there is no office of the former president until now. It's just an unofficial office. The title is deliberately and explicitly a trolling attempt at Biden. Trump is going to spend years, I hope, if his strategic capabilities are as good as I believe they are, he's going to spend the next few years, if Beijing Biden does something warmongering, he'll say, well, I never started any new wars. I find it regrettable that he's decided to go back to killing small third world children. If he fucks the economy, Trump will point to the first 3 years in office and say, well, until the China virus, and see the addendum for the March statements of Beijing Biden saying there shouldn't be any travel restrictions to and from China. Oops, that one's not going to go over well. My economy was roaring ahead, and now he's taking us back to the 2010s. It would be interesting as well if you see that applied to other things, especially with regards to diplomacy, I think, or trade deals. One of Trump's first major things was not signing the TPP. I speculate that it will be revived in a slightly different form and signed off on by Biden. Let's hope Congress refuses to ratify it, because it would be a massive job killer. It would rob the U.S. middle class completely blind. Trump would be able to verbally oppose it. If he decides, by the way, to continue skirting the legacy media and begins pumping resources into alt-tech, it could be a huge thing. Even though the alt-tech world, BitChute and Odyssey and Rumble and everything else, even though these sites are growing, and even though by and large they appear to be solvent, they still have 1% of the budget of their big tech competitors at most. Trump has the ability to change that. He would end up getting massively rewarded probably for his investments. He should switch from real estate development to tech development. In the elderly years of his life, since he turns 75 soon, by the way, officially elderly at that point, much like Beijing Biden and most of the Democratic Party, he could make enormous amounts of money. It's true that he's lost a lot of money being the president. Well, he's still got billions in property. He can sell those off. I know it's definitely not a seller's market right now, but hell, if he liquidates a couple of golf courses, he's got enough money to buy all of alt-tech, practically. It would be interesting to see him become quasi-dictatorial, overlooking a massive free speech hegemon on the internet that would become popularized in the lamestream world a lot more if it had somebody like Trump associated with him. I'm not holding out hope he'll do that. I'm just saying it'd be interesting if he did. As far as this office goes, though, this serves no other purpose, especially in the naming of it, than to troll Beijing Biden. Very, very successful. It's getting front page news. It's very difficult for them to attack him for it without, again, the problem of people mentioning Biden's office of the president-elect. That's about all. Peace out.